We're here to talk about mental health honestly, because we know 1 in 4 people have a mental health issue, and far too often the subject makes people feel uncomfortable. We're here to change all that. At Seacoast Pathways, a clubhouse for adults with mental illness in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, we want to change how people think and talk, or don't talk, about mental health. Join us as we take on stigma and approach mental illness honestly and courageously. This is Seacoast Pathways Clubhouse Live podcast, starting now. Hi, this is Gina speaking. Welcome to Clubhouse Live, the podcast for Seacoast Pathways. Today we're going to be talking about the history of clubhouses with staff member Joe. Welcome, Joe.
Hi, Gina, and congratulations on your very first podcast. This is our first podcast, and I'm just really excited to be your first guest. So let me tell you a little bit about clubhouses before we talk about Seacoast Pathways Clubhouse specifically. Generally, you have to go back to the middle of the 20th century, roughly 1950. The first clubhouse was formed. It was formed when some people had been discharged from a mental hospital in the New York area, wanted to keep in contact, and they found a place. I think a family member donated space, and they started getting together. They wanted to keep their friendships going and have a place to go. And that was really the very first idea of what a clubhouse was. And a little time went by, and that particular organization became known as Fountain House, and it's still there. It's a fantastic clubhouse in New York City. Eventually they hired a man by the name of John Beard, who came in, and now this was in the 1950s when psychology was becoming popular. Freud and Spock, not the guy from Star Trek, but the child psychologist. People were paying attention to psychiatry. And John Beard had this notion that really went against conventional thinking. He said, I don't care really what your diagnosis is. I'm not concerned with that. I'm concerned with what you can do right, what you can do well. So it's not about your diagnosis. It's about making you feel and making you understand that you do have strengths and that you do have qualities that can actually help you recover. So that really went against this idea that you had a mental illness, you really didn't have much chance for recovery. To John Beard, it was, no, you have qualities, we're going to bring those qualities out in you, and it really doesn't matter what your diagnosis is, it's the work you're going to do in this clubhouse. And so he started giving people jobs in the clubhouse, answer the phone, wash some dishes, help make the meals, take messages, clean the floor. All of these things gave people in the clubhouse work and a way to feel important, and he started seeing the people recover.
Is that what you mean when you say we leave the diagnosis at the door?
Well, that's interesting. That's really one of the biggest mottos of the clubhouse. Check your diagnosis, leave your diagnosis at the door. We know you have a mental illness, we know you have a diagnosis, but we're not here to talk about that. We want you to know who you are in spite of that. And so leave your diagnosis at the door. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about Seacoast Pathways?
Sure. Yeah. Seacoast Pathways has been a great part of my life. I have learned, like this being my first ever podcast, I've spoken in front of the New Hampshire House a lot. We do a lot of just average, ordinary things, but make you feel great and involved in the community and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like, as you said, James Beard taught these kind of things, and we've kept that model alive, and we don't talk about our diagnoses really at all, and we just put our hands to work, I guess you could say.
And our members tell us that coming to Seacoast Pathways Clubhouse is a great way. In fact, at the open house we had, the three things I heard are it's an alternative to being alone or being isolated. Okay, there's structure, right? And I think you talked about that a little bit.
I agree with that.
And there's peer support. So what we're offering in our community is a complete alternative for people who are struggling with mental health. They don't have to be alone. They don't have to be lonely and not have anything to do. They have a place that's theirs. That's one of the biggest philosophies of a clubhouse. The members have ownership. They have governorship. They have it's their place, and they all members are involved in decision making. Staff isn't really telling members what to do. Staff and members are really on an equal footing, and it's that kind of welcoming, non-judgmental environment where the members are empowered that really is a powerful recovery piece here.
And we're fully a team. Like, everybody works together. We ask for someone's help if we need anything, or in a positive way, and we don't let anybody feel left out of anything, and we just work together on it.
Yeah, I mean, we just had a workshop just a few minutes ago with wellness, learning how to communicate, learning how to understand. You know, people who are in a mental health bind often, their thinking process may not be just right. And so we want our clubhouse to be a really kind place where there's good communication going on and people are understanding each other, and we don't want arguments. You know, we work really hard at keeping it a very peaceful place.
And keeping it simple, for sure, so everybody understands it.
It's one of our mottos, keep it simple. Absolutely. Patience is a virtue. There's another one. Clubhouses are known for having all these motivational signs around the clubhouse, and those are two of the most popular. Maybe we should talk about one of the key standards of running a clubhouse. Clubhouses have roughly 37, maybe now 38 standards on which they operate, and one is very simple. It's a very basic standard, but it's so important to recovery, and that is that all the work in the clubhouse that members do is voluntary. So why is that a powerful piece of recovery for a person with a mental health issue?
I would say you're not told what to do. You are politely asked to do something. If somebody wants you to clean the dishes or whatever because there's nobody else to do it, they would politely ask. And if you can't or don't want to, you can always say no, or I won't do it today, but I can do it next time I'm here. Like, it's always engaging in conversation about things that haven't been done in a polite way. Kind of like voluntold, I guess. You're voluntary, but you're kind of encouraged to do stuff.
Yeah, and that should be a liberating idea to a person who has been through, let's be honest, they've been through hell in their journey of recovery. They may have been in the hospital, maybe they're dealing with family issues that some people sadly they report that their family doesn't really embrace them because of their mental issue. I mean, that's probably one of the cruelest active forms of stigma, but it does happen. When you have a mental health problem, you're out of control on that one. You're often told what to do by your therapist. You have to take medications. You know, you really don't have much voluntary behavior. And so coming to a clubhouse is designed to change all that. As you said at the very beginning, we're here to change all of that, right? We're here to change this idea that if you have a mental health issue, you can't do anything about it. And so if you go to a clubhouse, you'll find that you're in control. You're in charge. You want to do this. If somebody says, would you like to do that? You can say, no, I really don't want to do that. And that's giving you something back. It's giving you more control. And so that's one of the reasons why that particular standard, everything is voluntary, is so important to recovery.
Or more of a relief that you can advocate for yourself and say, no, I'm not really in the mood right now. because, as you said, people with mental health issues, the expectations are just like anybody else to do things like at home or whatever with your parents. You're expected to do everything if asked, I guess, kind of the stigma.
Yeah, I mean, there are situations, and I've heard many family members say when they try to communicate with their loved one who has a mental health problem, come on, man, snap out of it, or get it in gear, or go out and get a job. And these are messages that just really don't work. Probably a better way would be to say to the person, what would you like to do? Can you find something that you like, and not be judgmental about it? Give the person a choice. And so if you're listening to this podcast and you do have a mental health problem and you're not sure what to do, maybe too many people are telling you what you should do, and what you need to do is sort of stop that thinking and ask yourself, what do I really want to do? You may not be able to go out and get a job. You may not be able to, even get volunteer work. But there certainly must be some things that you want to do that will maybe get you out of the house, maybe get you out of your own isolated thinking, get you with other people, socializing. So be voluntary. Don't feel you have to do something. Don't let somebody tell you that you have to do something, but do something. Find something that you like to do.
So you're saying to the world, whoever's listening to this, change the shoulds and turn them into what can I do, or what do I want to do, or because shoulds are just being bossy and expectations, and just to make it better for yourself.
Yeah, it's really about self-empowerment. And not listening to the societal messages that say, get a job.
If you can get a job, great.
Certainly, I don't mean to go the other way with it, but there's so many things that you can do that will qualify as work. And it can be stuff you really love to do. Don't worry about whether you're getting paid or what other people might think. But it's so much better than sitting at home and doing nothing.
And isolating yourself.
Yeah.
So you're saying just to be yourself and try to find what you like to do, or what you love to do, or even in the moment you don't know that you love it or something, just try something one step at a time to do something new.
Right, and that's really a key philosophy of the Clubhouse. Most of the things that we do at Seacoast Pathways have come from the interest of members. Members have come in and said, hey, can we have an artist here? Can we work on art? Yeah, we'll find ways for you to work on art. We like to make anything we do here serve the Clubhouse. That's another important thing, that all work is done to promote or to make the Clubhouse run well. But if a member comes in and says, I really like art, well, you know what? We'll give you a job. Maybe you can design our brochure cover. Maybe you can make some motivational posters using your artistic qualities. That's work. You're contributing something to our Clubhouse, and almost anything we've done here, music, the food we prepare. Members come in and say, hey, can we have beef stroganoff? Sure, if you like to make beef stroganoff, that's a job for you. Do it. Doing it for the Clubhouse, you're doing it for members, you're doing it for yourself. So it's all really about empowerment, voluntary empowerment of what you want to do.
I'm kind of feeling empowered by you, Joe.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, again, we it's good that we talk about this. It's good we spread the word. Anybody out there listening to this, if there is a Clubhouse in your region, you could start by looking up the website Clubhouse International. If you just Google those two words, Clubhouse International is kind of the overseeing organization that actually it accredits clubhouses. You will find a search engine there for finding a clubhouse. But if you don't live near a clubhouse, you can listen to our podcast and, in a sense, be part of our clubhouse that way as a listener. But you can also just practice these ideals and theories that we use at a clubhouse on your own.
That's true, Joe.
Yeah.
You can always do it at your home or in your environment.
Yeah. So you have spoken very eloquently about clubhouses and our clubhouse specifically. Gina, do you want to just tell our listeners what the clubhouse has done for you?
Well, so 6 months ago, I started being full-time at the Clubhouse. I didn't know what podcasting was or being on video news or anything, and newslettering and doing ads for like what new projects we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I've totally learned a lot about what job opportunities or skills that I have that I didn't know about until I got here.
Mm-hmm.
But if I never came here, I never would have known about those opportunities or anything. So sometimes when you're in a new situation, you have to take the leap into doing something new.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize what cool things you can do and what talents you have, because you never know what talents you have until you actually try them out. Even if it comes with anxiety at first, you break through that kind of thing and you find this really cool hobby like this podcast.
Right.
For the first time ever.
Right, exactly. So that sounds a whole lot better than staying home alone all day. And
yeah, totally.
Not being with others. And you mentioned anxiety. Really, the message is we know how you're feeling when you're home alone and you're feeling anxious. And it's really not promoting your recovery. It may feel good. I mean, close the door, close down the blinds. You don't deal with anybody. I guess there's some security in that, but the brain needs socialization. The brain needs to be with other people, and so Clubhouse's pledge to be very open and non-judgmental and friendly, welcoming. So you do have to get past that anxiety. So
True enough.
Yeah. In our next podcast, Gina and members will discuss how work units comprise a clubhouse and how voluntary work promotes job-ready skills for future employment. They will also introduce more standards that make Seacoast Pathways Clubhouse an effective, non-clinical recovery center. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you soon.